This is the story of Jonah, the really whiny prophet. So, Jonah's job.
He was a prophet.
Did he get paid for that?
I don't think so.
You can't make a profit by being a prophet.
Hey.
God spoke to him, and he would translate that for the masses, and he would say, hey, God wants you to do this. And then the people would be like, okay, that sounds reasonable. So one day, God says to Jonah, hi, Jonah, I have a very special task for you. You know that terrible city, Nineveh? They, as a collective group mind, are doing some really bad things. They're making some terrible decisions. I need you to go to them and be like, hey, stop that. And Jonah's like, but Nineveh, really? They're not gonna listen to me. They're all terrible. God's like, okay, peace. Fine. And he goes to the port and he buys a ticket for a boat heading the opposite direction. Toot, toot.
So Jonah goes and he takes a nap because he's like, ooh, running away from God is tiring.
And he's a really heavy sleeper because he sleeps through a really big storm. Boom, crash, rain, wind, whoosh.
And the boat's rocking back and forth and the captain's like, whoa, guys, whoa, somebody pray to something. And all the crewmates go, oh, whoever I believe in, please save me. And Jonah wakes up and he's like, what? What's going on? And he goes above deck, and everything's going crazy.
Like, ah!
Ah! Ah!
Those are the sailors. They're all like being tossed from port to starboard, or whatever those ship terms are.
And the captain's like, yo, Jonah, where have you been? He's like, I was asleep, man. And then he's like, pray to something. And Jonah's like, oh, gosh, this is my fault, isn't it? All right, I'm gonna jump overboard now. And the captain's like, no, we can't let you do that. Let's play a game. So they spin the wheel of misfortune, and it lands on Jonah. And Jonah's like, ha, I knew it. Wait. And they go, oh, sorry. And they just chuck him overboard.
And then as soon as Jonah hits the water, the storm passes. And Jonah's just like hanging out in the middle of the ocean when all of a sudden this giant fish comes out of nowhere.
Just a large fish.
Well, it's actually not specified whether it's like a giant fish or a whale, but it's some large aquatic creature.
Yeah, and he comes and he goes, oh!
So he sets up camp inside the whale.
So for 3 days, he sort of sits.
He's like, okay, God, I see what you did here. I'm really sorry. I should have listened to you the first time. Now I'm gonna do what you asked.
And then the whale has indigestion and spits him up onto land. And conveniently, where did he wash up? The shore of Nineveh. So he hikes.
That's convenient. He's covered in fish goo, and he's just like, okay, now I'm gonna tell the people of Nineveh to stop doing bad things.
He goes up to Nineveh and he stands on his little soapbox and he goes, hey, Nineveh, guess what? You're all terrible people. And the guys are like, we know that, but hey! And Jonah goes, if you don't change your ways in the next 3 days, God's gonna smote you. Smite.
Destroy.
Yeah.
And immediately, the people of Nineveh are like, I'm so sorry.
Oh well, it was fun while it lasted. Guess I gotta smear some ash all over me and rip my clothes up and...
Oh yeah, here, let's put some sackcloth on the cows too.
Now they're better people because they repented and they said sorry. So Jonah's up on a hill. He's expecting, like, fireworks.
He's got popcorn.
He's
got his 3D glasses. He's so ready for the show. And he's watching the city of Nineveh not burn. And he says to God, God, didn't you say you were going to destroy Nineveh? And God's like, yeah, no. They apologized and they said they're going to change their ways. So I forgave them. Jonah's like, you forgave them?
You did what? You forgave them? I took the worst Uber of my life to get here. I was inside a fish for 3 whole days. I had to smell the awful smells, 0 stars, very bad rating.
Also, I'm hot and I'm hungry and I'm complaining a lot. And so God grows a little shade plant.
And there's a lawn chair and he's chilling with his pina coladas.
And God's like, better? And Jonah is like, yeah. This is a story about how a nap and a snack can do wonders.
Yes. And along comes a caterpillar.
Chomp.
Eats the entire plant. It's a really hungry caterpillar. They made an entire book out of it. And Jonah's like, no! No, why?
God! What'd you do that for?
I want my plant back.
And God's like, are you quite finished?
And Jonah's like, no, I'm not. I liked that tree. You got rid of it, and I didn't like that. I'm so upset about the plant. Just take me too.
So God says to Jonah, you grew emotionally attached to this plant, and you cared more about its destruction than the people of Nineveh. Now, does that seem right to you?
It's never too late to change your ways.
Yes. Jonah needs to learn that lesson. Also, sometimes it's better to do things the first time you're asked. And then the portion just ends.
The end.
Jonah, Jonah, living in the whale, tried to run away from God, that was bound to fail. Jonah, Jonah, living in the whale, tried to run away from God, that was bound to fail.